So, what if I told you that everything you think you know about geology, about history, even about human nature is wrong? What if it's all tied to a cycle of planetary destruction that's not only real, but is set to happen again, like right now, in our lifetime? Well, according to the source material we're digging into today, that is exactly what's going on. Let's get into it.
The source we're looking at kicks things off with a pretty bold statement. The idea that the ground under our feet is stable is just a comforting lie. It suggests that our planet has this predictable, almost mechanical failure built right into its operating system.
And when that failure happens, it is not a slow burn. No, we're talking about a full-on planetary reset. The entire 60-mile thick crust of the Earth just slips. This unleashes supersonic winds, tsunamis that can literally crush continents. And the whole thing, the entire apocalypse, is over in just 6 to 12 hours. I mean, that's less time than a shift at work. Now, here's where it gets really wild. The theory is super precise. It's all based on this mathematical model that tracks past cataclysms in a cycle. And you know what that model says? The next big one isn't some far-off problem for our great-great-grandkids. Nope. It's predicted for the 25-year window between 2025 and 2050. All of a sudden, this isn't just some abstract idea. It's an immediate, urgent problem.
Okay, so the big question is, how could something like this even be possible? How could the entire crust of the planet just tumble? Well, the theory lays out a very specific and kind of terrifying four-step process.
Let's break this down. First, our solar system travels through what's called a galactic null zone, and this weakens the Earth's internal energy field. You can think of it as the glue holding the crust down. Second, this causes the molten layer right under the crust to get, well, slippery. It basically turns into a planetary scale lubricant. Third, you've got the insane lopsided weight of the ice caps in Greenland and Antarctica, and that creates this powerful twisting force, or torque. And finally, with the glue gone and everything lubricated, that torque just takes over, and the whole crust slips 90 degrees. And you know, this isn't just some theory pulled out of thin air. The source points to real-world data, like the fact that our planet's magnetic field is measurably decaying. It's already dropped by over 35% in just the last few hundred years. And according to this theory, that decay is the lubricant. It's the very thing that's greasing the wheels, so to speak, for the crust to slip. It means we might already be well on our way. Okay, so a mind-bending theory is one thing, but can we actually see the fingerprints of this happening before? Has it left evidence behind? The source argues absolutely yes. The proof is literally frozen in time. Our first piece of forensic evidence takes us to Siberia, to the Beresovka mammoth. The way this animal was preserved is, by all conventional science, flat out impossible. And it's a chilling clue about the incredible speed of the last cataclysm. I mean, just listen to these details. The mammoth was flash frozen so fast that it still had undigested buttercups in its mouth. Its internal organs were perfectly preserved. This wasn't a case of it getting cold over a few days. The theory says it was smothered by a wave of mud moving at supersonic speeds and, at the exact same time, hit with a 180-degree temperature drop as its location was instantly flung toward a new North Pole. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the American Frozen Foods Institute says that to preserve a huge animal like that without ice crystals destroying the cells, you have to get all the heat out of its body in under 4 hours. The source suggests this happened in under a minute. There's just no known natural process that can do that. It requires a catastrophe on a scale we can barely imagine. All right, for our second piece of evidence, let's head over to the Andes Mountains, to the ancient city of Tiwanaku. Because what we find there is a paradox that just completely breaks conventional geology. So all the evidence on the ground, the docks, the construction, it all points to Tiwanaku being a busy seaport right on the ocean. But today, it's sitting at 12,500 feet up in the mountains. The theory's explanation is that during a past cataclysm, which it actually identifies as the Great Flood, the entire landmass was violently thrust more than 2 miles straight up into the sky. So if you've got this kind of evidence, a flash-frozen mammoth, a seaport on top of a mountain, it really makes you wonder, why isn't this the biggest story on the planet? The theory gives a pretty chilling answer, because this knowledge is being actively and systematically hidden from you.
This is where the source introduces what it calls the Gardner hypothesis. It claims there's this ancient elite family line, descendants from a previous high civilization who've known about this cycle for thousands of years. They apparently see themselves not as our rulers, but as the planet's population regulators who manage humanity through these resets. And what this creates is this massive gap in knowledge. The Gardeners, supposedly, keep all the important stuff secret, the exact timeline, where the safe places are, even incredible technologies like G-propulsion that could help us rebuild. And what does the general public know? Nothing. According to the theory, this is all by design, to make sure there's maximum chaos when it happens, which allows them to manage the herd. And this is where the theory takes an even darker turn. It claims that the same decaying magnetic field that sets up the crustal slip also messes with our biology. It literally destroys human empathy. This leads to a totally predictable period of moral collapse. You see a surge in crime, in greed, in corruption. The Gardeners supposedly know this is coming and just let it ride, because this societal rot acts as a kind of purge, you know? It thins the population and minimizes competition for resources after the big event. But if the cataclysm is known and the timeline is set, there has to be a way to survive it, right? Well, the source material lays out an incredibly detailed survival protocol. And it's not just about hiding in a basement. It's designed for the rapid reconstruction of an entire civilization. First things first, location. It's everything. The protocol names two primary safe zones. You've got the Andean Shield, which is high enough to protect against that colossal wave from the Pacific, and then there's the African Craton, that's a super ancient, stable part of the Earth's crust, which is a highland area that's predicted to avoid the worst of the flooding. Each one is chosen for a very specific strategic reason. Now, surviving this isn't about just finding a cave somewhere. We're talking about a purpose-built, engineered fortress. Shelters have to be on the eastern face of a high mountain to survive that first supersonic blast. They need crazy systems for radiation shielding and for filtering all the volcanic ash out of the air. And, maybe most importantly, they have to be planned with mandatory armed defense against the chaos, against the wolves of the night. And when they say reinforced, they are not messing around. We are talking about walls and ceilings up to 4 feet thick, made of heavily reinforced steel and concrete. They have to be built to survive not just a massive earthquake, but the crushing weight of miles of water on top of them. But again, this whole protocol isn't just about hiding. It's about rebooting civilization from scratch. The recovery kit supposedly includes forbidden tech like G-propulsion to get power back online without fossil fuels. But it also has really basic stuff like a sextant so you can figure out where the new equator is, and it even includes social blueprints to immediately reestablish law and order. The whole shebang. And that brings us to our final, pretty unsettling thought for the day. This whole theory proposes a direct link between the planet's weakening magnetic field and a breakdown in human morality. So, as you look around at the world today, the source material leaves us with this one chilling question. What does the state of our world, the increasing chaos and corruption, really tell you about the strength of the very ground beneath our feet?